Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run, of course designed to keep you up to date on a fairly regular basis, and the footage in the background today, we've got some Crysis 3 multiplayer, once again taking another look at it, and I'll perhaps make a few more vids about Crysis 3. It depends. I really have to gauge a game for about a week or two to decide whether I want to continue creating content for it. I am by no means good at Crysis 3. It is very twitchy. In a way, I suppose you can compare its multiplayer to something like Halo. Obviously very unrealistic, and you're dealing with powered battle suits or armor, and it's going to take quite a few more rounds to drop somebody. And I don't have a problem with that. Obviously, I come from playing games like Quake and Unreal Tournament, and that's all. That's the way things used to be back then, and so I really don't have a problem with seeing that in modern day titles. It's at least something fresh and different in comparison to all the military shooters that we tend to deal with these days. So it is nice. It's just that I'm so not used to playing like this anymore that you have to just think, okay, well, sometimes you have to throw the slow-paced tactical combat out and think about, okay, jump, strafe, circle strafe, leap through the air and stomp people and just go crazy with it sometimes. Really got to get better with the stealth maneuverability, when to activate your maximum armor, and all these other little things that are in the game. But again, it's not necessarily my cup of tea. It is fun once in a while if you just want to relieve some stress, but then again, I'm so bad at it, it might be the other way around. However, I find that when I'm not good at a game, sometimes I just enter silly mode and make a video where I literally just, get extremely sarcastic and laugh at myself. And I think sometimes those are even more entertaining than me being serious. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll turn into a silly game for me, similar to how I am in Mountain Blade Warband. I always have fun when I do those, even though I'm terrible. But sometimes that's just the way to enjoy a game. Just go in there and just have fun. Put a smile on your face, and those watching, of course. So that's that. Moving right along, I was also discussing changing the format of this show a little bit, perhaps removing the gameplay, having a static background, making it more like a podcast or something, but many of you spoke out against that, so I'm not going to change the gameplay footage. If I change anything, maybe it'll be the stylization or the aesthetics, perhaps the way I include gameplay. We'll see. I'm approaching it from a design point of view. So for now, the gameplay will stay in the background so you guys can enjoy that while you listen to me. As long as you are actually listening to me and not just watching random gameplay. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of this whole show in the first place, let alone the channel in its entirety. But that's that, so no gameplay leaving, don't worry. And now I actually kind of want to go back to something. And one thing I completely forgot to talk about it in the last Strafing Run, and I think I was reminded by it from some of the comments, is Aliens Colonial Marines. My buddy Rui kind of sort of talked me into getting it. Not necessarily. I mean, I made the decision on my own to purchase it. He had reminded me of it. That's what I should say. He didn't really say, oh, you should get it. It's going to be amazing. It was more so, hey, man, this game's coming out. It has 4-player co-op, and he really loves cooperative play. I mean, who doesn't? Co-op always makes things more fun. And we're always looking for good games to co-op and things like that. And so he had recommended it, and I was like, I don't know. And then it was cheaper. It was, 25% cheaper on Green Man Gaming for launch. And so I picked it up at, a slightly discounted price and was massively disappointed. And I think the entire world is massively disappointed by this because it's fracking Aliens. Fox Entertainment, or whatever they're called, Fox in general, has been really, how should I put this? They've been really, I guess, protective of Aliens, especially. Well, they are of most of their content, but when it comes to Aliens, even in the past, Usually, if you want to make a modification of something from another game, as long as you're not charging any money for it, you can do it. And I remember back in the day, for even older games, people would try to make a mod about Aliens, the movies, and they would get shut down by Fox. They said, no, you can't do it. Not happening. Most companies don't care. As long as you're not, charging for it, it's fine. The second you charge something for, IP that's not your own, you're done. But even for free, free mods were getting shut down by Fox. And, here we are with a game that's supposed to be actual canon from the films and everything. This was supposed to be great, right? Gearbox is doing it. How can this is, Borderlands 1 and 2 is amazing. Brothers in Arms, the old World War II games they had created were great. They even did the PC port of Halo 1, and that was a really good port. Gearbox has been a great company. But that's fine and dandy if Gearbox is actually the one creating the game. And apparently, Gearbox had only really had a hand in some of the multiplayer components. Apparently there was 2 other companies, Timegate and Nerve Software, that were involved in its development, or the majority of the development. They outsourced. Really, Gearbox? Why? If the game was... What? The game was apparently in development for many years. 6 years, I think I've heard once or twice. And this is what we get. And so, you guys have... This is all old news. You've heard about this in all the reviews, and other YouTubers have said it. But it's just, hey, made by Gearbox, not so much. Welcome to the title screen, which tells you otherwise. And it's just... I don't understand how they could mess it up. It's just... Imagine just being handed a plate of gold and say, here you go, do whatever you want with it, and just turning it into lead. It was terrible. Have I played worse single-player campaigns? Yeah, I probably have. But just, where can I begin? The small, tight levels, the textures that were just inconsistent. Your player model textures might be fine, but then you look at the wall and something is extremely low res. Nothing made sense. It's like, oh, let's prioritize this. They'll only care about looking at the characters, but when it comes to the level, we don't need this wall texture, this number, or this box of ammo to be high res. It doesn't really matter, does it? There's even missing textures in some of the levels. It's just terrible, and the AI for the aliens is just horrid, and the things that we had seen in video and previews, interviews, just wasn't there. Things were cut out of the game. It's like they pre-scripted a bunch of things to show off and just lied to us. And anyways, I really don't want to recover all that's wrong with the game. I'm not doing a post-review of it or anything. I had thought about it, but I was like, well, what's the point? Everybody else is already, attacking this thing left and right, so there's no need for my opinion necessarily. It's just a sad, disappointing thing. You're literally given one of the greatest, storylines or sci-fi epics of all time, and you really just trash it like this. Aliens inspired all these other sci-fi games. You can probably look at bits of Halo, Mass Effect, or various other sci-fi games and other sci-fi movies that have completely stolen or borrowed from Aliens. In some ways, this is kind of like a... I'm not going to say... Well, I don't really want to say a grandfather of sci-fi, but it's really one of those pivotal sci-fi, points in the history of filmmaking, and just... Wow. It's just, unfortunately, once again, the wrong developer is given control over it, and I don't get it. If I were a VP at Fox or something, I'd be like, what did you guys do? Were they not involved in this? Did they not think, oh, hey, okay, we're giving this to you, don't frack it up? Did they not supervise anything or consult on anything? Did they care? They're like, here, take it, whatever. If it was mine, if I was thinking, all right, this is, you guys mess this up, you're done. I would have a contract set up or something. I don't know how it works, so forgive me, but I'd be like, you get one chance. We need to hit this sales figure. We need reviews to be this good. If they're not, you guys are done. I don't know how you would do it, but this is just you guys. It's like you're entrusting your child to somebody, and to just have it turned into that. And this makes Gearbox look really bad. I don't care what you've created. You do not do this. You do not. Whose idea was this? I mean, all the interviews with Randy Pitchford talking this game up like it's going to be the next best thing, or the next great thing, I should say. I don't know. I'm just a little disappointed. I mean, we're all disappointed. It's a sad day in gaming when you think you can trust somebody. We've lost trust. I don't know. Now we're all going to think twice, right? And sure, it's not always a good idea to pre-order a game because you don't know what it's going to be like. You want to wait for reviews, things like that. But again, I got excited. My friend wanted to get it. Thought there was going to be some great co-op. First-person shooters with co-op are, few and far in between. And I thought that, hey, how can we go wrong? Gearbox, Aliens, it's gold. And just wrong. But now, I've learned a lesson from that. And I'll always, think twice about it, especially when it comes to any Gearbox title at this point, because just unacceptable. But, enough of that, really. How can they resolve this problem? Is it too late to go back and fix it? No, it's not. Not at all. They can go back. They can repair the damages. They need to commit to improving this product. Whoever's at fault needs to get reprimanded or fired or given a final warning. They need to say, okay, look, that season pass we got? That season pass that allows for all the DLC? Guess what? Free season pass for those that purchase the game. That's my opinion. We should at least get some sort of compensation for this. I don't necessarily expect a refund. I know how video gaming works. It's very rare that you can get a refund for something. There are some rare cases where Steam will refund your money, but in this case, if they were to say, come out with a formal apology. We're sorry. Just fess up to it. We're sorry. We apologize. We did wrong by you and Fox and the Alien storyline. We want to make it up to you. Over the next few months, over the course of the year, we're going to work on getting some of our best developers on this title. We're going to repair the damages. Whether they want to give us free DLC or give us the season pass for free. I mean, let's face it. At this point, you've damaged your reputation so much that you have to do something. If you're just going to let it go, then quite frankly, you've damned yourself. And that's what it is. And literally, I know there's probably a lot of people that have purchased the season pass already. Those people should probably be reimbursed because I'll tell you what, they're not getting my money for that. No way. This needs to be repaired. And so far, I haven't been keeping up on the news, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard of any formal apologies or any promises to repair the game over some time. I almost think that they might chalk it off as a loss. I mean, again, they did promise this DLC. Season pass, usually goes over the course of a year, I'd guess. Quite a few months at least if we take a look at how Battlefield's premium works and some of the Call of Duty stuff. Usually it probably lasts you a year until a supposed sequel comes out. So at this point, nobody's going to want to buy a sequel to this, and they're not going to sell any season passes, any more of them. I mean, if people are buying them, then please stop, because otherwise you're just letting them know they can get away with murder. So there's that. That's my opinion. They owe us something. They need to at least apologize for it. I know game development is not easy. I'm not expecting miracles, but I'm saying over the course of the year, repair the freaking game so that one day we can revisit it and say, okay, it's better now. But do something. I mean, do something, please, Gearbox. I mean, redeem yourselves. Stop outsourcing. You're great developers. I know you're capable. I've bought many of your games over the years, and I know you make good stuff. Just don't do this. Stop focusing on your flagship titles and pay attention to something that you claimed that was going to be great. So that's that. I think I've ranted about that for long enough, but I think we were all screwed over on that one. So I think I speak for more than myself on it, and I just wanted to discuss it. So the next big topic, this might be a longer show, and I don't think that's a big problem for most of you, but PlayStation 4 event. I think some people were misreading my tweets, and I had posted something in regards to, all right, thanks a lot, Sony. I'm going to go back to my already next-gen platform, the PC. And I don't hate consoles. Let's get that out right now. I have no problem with consoles existing. I have a PS3. I used to own an Xbox 360. I've sold it. I used to own a Wii. Well, I actually still have it. I kind of wish I had sold it. I don't use the Wii. It was a system that I should have never bought because it was just, they didn't offer any of the things that I like as a hardcore gamer, and that was a giant mistake. I don't ever plan to buy a Wii U. It's just not for me. I really don't care. I think they're a little late to the party with that kind of thing, but that's that. As far as the PlayStation, I was just disappointed in their presentation of a brand new product. That's the problem. I was very excited. I sat there and watched the stream all the way through. I was excited about the PlayStation 4. Some of my favorite games are on PlayStation 3. I beat Metal Gear Solid 4 in 2 days. And that's a long game counting all the cutscenes and everything. 2 days straight. I had 2 days off back in the day. And I sat there and beat the whole game. It was one of the most epic experiences, I had ever had in gaming, and I just kept going. I was addicted to it for 2 days, and it was brilliant. Would I have enjoyed full-blown 1080p anti-aliasing, all the bells and whistles of a modern-day, engine running on PC? Sure, I would have. But it was still a fantastic game, and it was so good that I didn't mind putting up with a controller and lower-end graphics. Uncharted. Now, these golden games, Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, beat them all. Hands down, one of my favorite series of all time. The voice acting, the animations, the storytelling, such an adventure, a cinematic movie adventure that you get to be a part of. Puzzles and action and just betrayal and you name it, everything is in this. You could even, I think I even once said when I beat these games, I said, even if you're not a gamer, and I was posting this on Facebook, I think I said, for those of you, my friends that are not gamers, do yourself a favor. If you're not going to play this game, watch somebody play it, because that's how cinematic it is. And they never take you out of the game. You're always in control, There's very little cutscenes where you're not in control of something, and just a phenomenal job. And I know this has almost turned into, oh my goodness, I love Uncharted, but I do. And again, the moral of this story is that PlayStation 3, one of my favorite series of all time, and I wish that I could see it in 1080p instead of 720 with anti-aliasing and all the bells and whistles again. On, with a stable, always 60 or greater frame per second on PC. Sure, I'd love to see Uncharted on PC. Mouse and keyboard control, or with the option of using a controller. Because that game is a mix. When it comes to the shooting, you need a mouse. But when it comes to everything else, it's best on controller. So that's the only thing with that. But the game was so good that I had no problems playing it on the controller. None. I didn't care. It was so good that I could overlook any of the flaws that a console had. And that's the thing. If you make a good game on console, I'll get it. Unless it's the first-person shooter. I've given up on buying shooters on console just because the mouse is a superior aiming device. It always has been. It always will be. That's just logic. But, again, my point is, there's a lot of great games, racing games, fighting games that are just best played on a console. Or at least if you have the option. I do have a PC Xbox 360 controller. So kind of that kind of makes it seem like, well, I really don't need a console because I can use a controller or mouse and keyboard on my PC. But my point is, some of my favorite games are on console. I don't hate consoles. Don't take what I said the wrong way. My point is, when you have a presentation, a press conference or something like that, you have to do it right. And my example is Apple Inc. They are the best at showing off new products. I don't care if you hate Apple, if you're on the anti-Apple bandwagon. This is not about Apple versus the world. This is about presentation power. When Apple has a press conference or any type of event to show off a product, they always show it off when they're close to releasing. Usually within a few months of release, or even a month, or maybe even a couple of weeks, depending on the product. Let's take iPhone, for example, iPhone 5. They release it, they have it on hand, they show it to you in person, they show you high-res, beautiful screenshots of all the angles, they show you the iOS, they show you the applications that are going to run on it, they show you the new features, they tell you when it's coming out, and they tell you how much it's going to cost, they tell you the processor specs, the memory, the capacity, everything. They talk about the display. They go over it in great detail. Not PlayStation 4. Oh, hey guys, here's our controller. They pulled a Nintendo Wii U. Take a look at our controller. Oh, but we're not going to show you the console itself yet. Well, we want to see it. I don't care if you think it's just a box of hardware. We want to see what it looks like. We want to see the design. They pulled out the controller. Are you kidding me? You don't do that. They said, oh, we've got 8 gigs of GDDR5 RAM. Okay, great. What about the rest? What about the processor? What about the video card? What about the storage capacity? What? They didn't give us any information. And some of you might be thinking, well, they don't want to give away their secrets to Xbox, or they don't want to say what they're using yet. No, that's unacceptable. You need to, if you don't have that stuff ready, if you're not ready to go, if you're not confident, and that's what this is about, confidence. You should be confident enough to say, hey, here's our product, boom, deal with it. Competition, bring it. That's what Apple does. They say, here's our device, here's what we got. We don't care about the competition. It's releasing next month. It's going to cost this much. Done. End of story. Because they're confident in their products. And when you're confident in your own product or something that you create, that's sales, my friends. That's how that works. That's good marketing. That is how you do it. All you have to do is watch any Apple event, and you'll learn this. And it's, and then I go both ways. I've got PCs, I've got Mac, I've got, an iPhone. I'll go with the better product, and I'm not biased to any one way. But sure, am I an iPhone user for life and a Mac user for life? Of course I am. I get a lot of work done on that. I'm recording this audio on a MacBook Pro right now. It just works. It does what I need it to do. But so there's that. I just wanted to get that argument out of there. But again, it wasn't me hating on consoles. I understand a lot of people don't have the money to buy and build a PC. That's fine. I totally understand. I was in that place once, but it wasn't about that. It was the presentation was just bad. They had a bunch of weird, creepy developers on stage that just didn't know how to speak to an audience. There was no confidence. There was no charisma. It was just a strange event, and it's almost like they tried to evoke emotion. They went more for emotion, and certain people were just trying to stun you with graphics and things like that, and then some of the guys were just creepy and I don't think knew how to speak to an audience. It was just a strange event. I think they were trying to go for something different. It was just a poor showing by some of those developers. And it was just, I didn't really care about the games because I know what I have a PC, and as a PC gamer, I know what my games are capable of looking like. I just bought Crysis 3. You think anything on stage is going to amaze me? No, I'm sorry, but it's not. I mean, when we're playing games that look like Battlefield 3 and Crysis 3 and Crysis 2 even, Crysis 1 even still looks amazing. There's still console games that can't even compete with that. And how long ago did that come out? Years ago. So, I mean, that's how far ahead PC gaming is. When it comes to the multiplayer, we're doing games with 64 players, 128 players, thousands of players on a server, and consoles still can't do these things. I mean, those are the things I want to hear about. What's the hardware? What can I run? Are all my games going to be 1080p? Is there going to be any form of anti-aliasing? Is the system going to be able to run these things, Because a lot of times we don't get that stuff. Sure, it's just the eye candy. A lot of you don't care about the graphics. I was like, why would you buy a next-gen system then if you don't really care about graphics? There's tons of games that have great gameplay that have horrible graphics out there that are on older systems. So, I mean, that's the point. Why do we buy a next-gen system? So we can get these advancements in technology, That's what science is all about, figuring these things out. Developing smaller chipsets to fit in these boxes so that we can, not have something the size of a computer tower or larger, in our rooms. And that's that's what it comes down to. So again, just to finalize, I am excited about PlayStation 4. I'll probably still own one. Let's face it, I use my PS3 a lot, for Blu-ray and then once in a while for exclusive titles. Do I generally think that, I hate exclusivity. I think all games should be available everywhere, but, this is what we have to deal with. So that's that. So now that you know, maybe that's out of the way, because I know a lot of people got pissy about my statement and thought I was hating on consoles, and that completely was not it. It's just that show off your products better, have more confidence. Don't be afraid to release specs, because if you're doing that just because of the competition, well, then you've got a lot to learn, my friends at Sony. But otherwise, I would prefer... Yeah, I am biased towards Sony in regards to, beating out Xbox 360. I've had an Xbox 360. I'm not a fan of Microsoft's tactics. In the past, Microsoft, when they came out with the Xbox, they didn't seek to create new and original titles. They didn't go out to the developers for that. They decided to assimilate things from the PC instead because that's what they knew. The biggest example, of course, is Halo, and we're going to transition into talking about Destiny here. This could be a whole show, actually. I could argue about Halo for years. But back in the day, at an event called Macworld 1999. That's Macworld as in Apple. Macworld 1999. Steve Jobs, at the time, got up and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Bungie's Halo." That was the first time Halo was shown anywhere in the world. Or at least one of the first times. And Bungie, for those of you that don't know, started out making Macintosh games. Yes. Marathon, look it up. And some of those games, of course, got ported over to PC. And, at that time, it was a Mac-only game. In fact, I even think it was a third-person game at that time. But they showed off footage of this amazing game, and it looked incredible. We had never seen anything like this before. It looked insane. Everybody got excited. Because on the Mac, to get good games, it was a little bit more rare than to have on PC platforms and whatnot. So, there's that. And later on, that we hear that it gets that it's going to get ported to PC. Nvidia even has a commercial with Halo in it. Bungie created a little pre-scripted advertisement advertising the GeForce 2 GTS Pro, I think it was, a video card at the time. And it had all the Marines and the Master Chief talking about the video card, and it was all kind of funny. You could probably still find it out there. And we were all excited. I even bought that video card in preparation for Halo. And we're all, we can't wait. There's news all about this thing. It's just, the world is going crazy. The gaming universe is set on fire. What happens? Microsoft shows up, says, "Hey, Bungie, how would you like to, come on over and, make your game on the Xbox, this thing we're making, this Xbox, and, we'll give you lots of money." They give into it. Maybe there were some false promises. We'll never know the full details. I think the amount of money was actually disclosed at some point. It was millions of dollars, let's put it that way, and eventually that was it. And then it was kind of like, "Oh, by the way, you have about 6 months to finish your game, and you can't release it on anything else." Great, thanks, fantastic. Halo is still a great game, and everybody will remember it always. However, there were many things that were cut out of it. Things removed, levels were lengthened to increase gameplay time. The library, everybody knows that that's like the worst level ever, the most repetitive piece of garbage to date. And there were weapons removed. There were creatures removed from the environment. There was like these dinosaur things that used to be in there. There was supposed to be a human versus Covenant multiplayer mode. There were so many things removed from the game. Flamethrowers, the ability to have, the submachine guns, things that were ended up in Halo 2, and other Halo games were already in Halo 1. So many things were stripped out. It was known as the biggest sellout in video gaming history. Mac developers getting bought out basically by Microsoft. That's like the worst thing you could have ever done. And, some people say, well, if they didn't take that money, that Halo would have never been completed. And there's that. Maybe, I don't know. I'll never know the truth. Bungie never likes to talk about it. They've since forgotten their roots. They don't care about Mac and PC as much anymore. That's that. We got a Halo 1 port from Gearbox, like I said, which was great. And we got some extra features in it. Things, again, that were supposed to be in the original title. But, and then we got a Halo 2 port, which was for Vista only. Microsoft thought it was going to be a good idea. Say, oh, you know, Halo 2. Oh, but you have to own Vista to run it. Vista, one of the worst operating systems ever. One of the worst. Yeah, because gamers who don't have a lot of money are going to pay over $200 for an operating system and then another $50 for a video game. You are out of your mind, Microsoft. Of course the game didn't sell well. Oh, gee, Halo 2 didn't sell well. Let's stop porting Halo over because 2 didn't sell well. What do you think? A kindergarten student could figure that out. This is ridiculous. Nobody... You literally tried to force people to buy your garbage OS to play Halo 2. And guess what? Halo 2 was terrible. I don't care how many 9 out of 10s it got. It was a bad game. You know, they started to improve a little bit more with 3, but nothing beat 1. You know, I hear 4 is actually pretty good, so congratulations. I hear Halo Reach is pretty good too, so whatever. But I got rid of my Xbox by then. So my point is, going into Destiny, because I've transitioned here, once again, from what we've heard so far, is that Destiny will not be on PC or, of course, Mac. And Bungie just no longer cares about where they came from. And, you know, after some time, obviously, Bungie realized that they hated Microsoft as their own publisher, and there was that point where they broke away from them. But Microsoft, of course, retains the rights to Halo. So now Bungie can develop on any system they want, but it seems like they don't want to develop on PC. And there was a bunch of quotes from one of their devs that were just outrageous. They apparently think that they reinvented the wheel with Halo and you know, made regenerative health and a bunch of things, and playing with a controller the new trend. Excuse me, but regenerative health is garbage. And if you're claiming that as your invention, then that's not something I would want to be known for, because in my opinion, regenerative health has always been a giant joke and just a decrease in difficulty when it comes to gaming. But for them to say, like, oh, nobody wants to play with a mouse anymore, what do you mean? The mouse is still the best tool. I will take on anybody with a mouse and keyboard versus a controller any day in any game, and I'll probably stomp you. And I'm not that great. I'm an average gamer at best sometimes, and I'll probably stomp most anybody when it comes to a mouse. In fact, I had a mouse and keyboard adapter for the original Xbox, and when I got into Halo multiplayer, Halo 2, of course, mind you, because I think it was 2. Was it 2? Yeah. 2 multiplayer. I stomped people. It was like cheating. It felt like cheating. You grab the sniper rifle, the mouse and keyboard versus a bunch of people on controller. That's just the facts, my friends. I'm not trying to be a hater. That's just the way it is. The mouse movement is more natural when it comes to aiming a projectile-based weapon. That's just the way it is, guys. You know, deal with it. Don't be stubborn and closed-minded. I've tried them both. Obviously, the mouse is just better. That's the way it is. And yeah, so I mean, the proof was in the pudding. You know, I went from being horrible to being #1 just because I could actually aim and acquire targets faster. It wasn't the greatest, and in fact, it was like a PS2 support. And I don't mean PlayStation 2, I mean PS2, as in the port type of the mouse that you could use with this adapter. But it worked, and yeah, it was, you know, you could just stomp people online, and it was crazy. I think it was Halo 2, yeah, because that was still on Xbox, and I know it wasn't any of the other ones, I don't think, but so that was that, and you know, it's just, I don't get it. Like, I'm trying to think, like, if I was Bungie, do any of these guys, like, they're sitting there and saying, like, whose decision is it? You know, because you know there's some guy in a cubicle thinking, this sucks. You know, some artist or some programmer is like, man, I got to develop on a console again, and only a console. Like, I want to play my game on a PC. Can you imagine being a developer where you have no control? Like, you're not in charge. You're not the president, the CEO. You have no say. You can't do anything about it. You just got to make this game. This is your job, and that's it. It's like, all right, whatever. Here we go again. And it's, you know what it is? At the end of the day, money talks. Money fracking talks. And in this case, it's just, at least be honest about it. Just tell us, is it coming out on PC or not? No, fine. Why? Well, we don't think we're going to make enough money on it. Okay. We still think you're scumbags, but at least you're honest scumbags. That's all it comes down to, and that's what we want as gamers, because otherwise we're going to eat you alive. We're going to make our petitions and do all this. I mean, look at one game we still don't have on PC, Red Dead Redemption. Well, Rockstar Games, we know. Sure, do they make great games? Sure they do. Are they scumbags? Yeah, kind of. We get L.A. Noire, but we don't get Red Dead Redemption. Really? Really, Rockstar? L.A. Noire's a great game, but really? Versus Red Dead? Come on, man. What is with development today? I don't get it. And I know, don't pretend that they're not, but I know there's a bunch of artists and programmers that have no say that are like, what the heck are we doing? Some guy at the top is saying, nah, we're not going to do that. No, I don't really care. Doesn't really matter. This is my game. This is my company. We're going to do it this way. Or the publisher doesn't want to give us the resources. Because let's face it, the publisher pulls a lot of the strings. So more times than not, it's not even up to the developer. It's like, look, here's your budget. We can't afford to have you guys work on this platform. And as strange as that is, I guess, because let's face it, how do you build a game? You build a game on a computer. Well, you'd think that if you're gonna have something, you develop it on the highest end system and then just port it down from there. You don't go the other way around. But that's not the way they want to work. But it's different today, because if you think about it, what was the hardest games to get on PC? Japanese games, Capcom and Square Enix and all these other Japanese developers. They never used to touch the PC, but now they're coming to the PC. Sega, you can get all the Sonic games, and Capcom with Street Fighter, and all these games that used to never. I mean, we even got what's the latest one? Ace Combat, although it's not a good one apparently. We finally have an Ace Combat on PC. The Japanese are even saying, "Oh yeah, PC, extra money." Dark Souls we got. Okay, a very bad port of Dark Souls, but at least the modders fixed that. But we got Dark Souls. We're getting Dark Souls 2 on PC. All the Japanese people are saying, hey, why not? This is a great idea. Makes sense to us. But apparently, American console developers are like, nah, we're not going to do that. Why not? Oh, we're making this massively multiplayer shooter style game. Why would we put that on a PC? That would make too much sense. And you know why I'm really upset about this? Because I love what they did create. I like the story of Halo. I've read a couple of the books. I like the art. I like the design. I like the aesthetics of the world. I think the Marines and the Spartans look really cool. I like the weapons. I like the planets. And it's a really cool world. It's very well designed. And I'm mad that it's not on my favorite platform. Same thing with Destiny. I know they're going to do a good job. It's probably going to be a really great game. And I'm mad that it's not on my favorite platform. If you could at least say that, hey, PS4 will allow me to use a mouse and keyboard, that would make me a little bit happier, at least. But that's probably not going to be the case, because they see it as an advantage against other people who aren't using it, or, want to just sell controllers and not allow you to use peripherals made by somebody else. Even though there are people that make controllers for, the systems. Various reasons for that. So again, it's not that I hate Bungie. It's that I'm really disappointed. I still remember all those years ago how they betrayed me and took Halo away from my platform of choice. And it just wasn't fair, and I just don't think I can forgive them for that. And it might seem petty and silly to be upset about that, but that was a big deal to a lot of fans. We were looking forward to it, and we got gypped, and we only got the port years later when it was just kind of too little too late. It didn't really do well enough to spur more development for the PC, and I just don't understand it, because Microsoft builds our OS on the PC, but they don't want to have games on it, just so that they can, filter people to the Xbox. And that's just, it's unfortunate that things have gone that route. It's sad, really. And again, with Destiny, it's just, I don't really, Bungie is just, I just can't look up to them, and I really don't want to give them my money for anything, because, we'll have to see. Again, the statement that their one dev made was pretty vague. They didn't say yes or no to PC development, but, the rumors of the PC is dead, the people who were saying that stuff get bent, because obviously it wasn't true. And like I said, when we have a large amount of Japanese developers coming over to the PC as well, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. The PC is alive and well. When Nvidia and AMD can sell thousands of different versions of video cards and processors marketed towards gamers, when PC cases and modding kits and water cooling and all this stuff, RAM and all the hardware that's sold is still doing well. You think if PC gaming was dead, that any of those manufacturers would still be making any profit or up and running in general? Give me a break, you closed-minded fools. PC gaming is alive and well, and in fact, it's stronger than ever. And it's, look at Crytek. Look at them. They love developing on PC. They've had some issues with it in the past due to piracy, but nowadays they're like, yeah, we don't know about that. We kind of like making games that abuse your hardware, and we can't really get away with what we want on some of these consoles, so that's all there is to it. But again, I think everything should be multi-platform. A game should exist on all systems. The world would be a much better place if that was the case, but of course, money, greed, and whatnot is always going to stomp all over that. Halo for everyone. Red Dead Redemption for everyone. All these games, exclusivity, Uncharted for everyone. Metal Gear for everyone. All platforms, Xbox, Nintendo, PC, PlayStation. Everybody should get these games. Everybody should have them. If you want your game to be better, then make a better system. Make me want to get your system for different reasons. Give me a system that outperforms the Xbox. Give me Xbox. If you want to sell your version of the game, then give me a better system. That's where the fight should be. It shouldn't be about this exclusivity. And Nintendo's really guilty of that, because Nintendo, all they live off of is first-party characters. All the other stuff is a gimmick. Would we buy Nintendos if it wasn't for Zelda, Metroid, Mario, whatever else they have? Would we really? If we couldn't get, if we could get Mario Kart on every system, or a Mario game or a Zelda game on every system, would we really buy a Nintendo system? And that's why in the past I've said, kind of wish Nintendo would just go the way of Sega and just make their games for everything. Because why shouldn't we enjoy our titles on every platform? And a lot of people get mad at me when they say, oh, I wish Nintendo would just become a software developer. Why? You're closed-minded and stubborn if you're preventing other people from enjoying these games. What if somebody can only afford one console system and they say, well, I'm going to go with the Xbox or I'm going to go with the PlayStation because, well, this is what I can afford, but, I want to get this. It's too bad, though, now that they can't enjoy. You're preventing people from enjoying Mario and Zelda and all these other games because you only want Nintendo to keep making consoles. It doesn't matter if they make the console. What matters is that the games get made and that you get to enjoy it on a superior device. That's what it should be. But wow, this has really gone into some major ranting. This is going to be the longest strafing run ever. But let's close that off and talk about Blood Bowl. My match versus Bebop Vox, unfortunately, he had to forfeit. He was in England, I think, for a week for some sort of event that EA was holding, and that ran over into a couple of days. We were actually on Skype at the point where we were going to have the match, but then he ran into some technical difficulties with his audio setup, and then I just never saw him again, and then we just ran out of time, and Total Biscuit had to progress the league because otherwise it was holding back other people from playing their matches. So that's what we've run into. He feels bad about it, so don't really take it out on him too much. But it was out of my hands, and there was nothing I could do about it. So there's that. I do believe two of my players still did at least get to level up. Two of my linemen. So we'll see how they do. I believe it was Jack Bauer and John Rambo in that case. And on Saturday, the 23rd, I believe I am taking on Angry Joe and his Necromantics, Angry Joe and his Hollywood Horrors. So we'll see how that goes. I don't really like having to accept a forfeit. It's not a victory to me. And my first game against Jesse Cox wasn't necessarily stellar. Let's face it, I had more practice time than him, so it was kind of not a fair contest. So this is actually going to be an extremely challenging match, as Angry Joe has a lot of experience. But he's a really cool guy. This should be an extremely hilarious Blood Bowl, I would think, and there's going to be some language thrown around, I'm sure, but it should be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to a win, lose or draw. It's going to be a good time, and I've been enjoying the Blood Bowl stuff. Didn't think I would at first, but I actually am. So, with that said, quick run through, still doing some Ghost Recon, started some campaign with some buddies of mine. The campaign so far so good. Hardcore mode is amazing. If you get shot, you have to start over from your last save point. I really suggest Ghost Recon Future Soldier to those of you that want a good 4-player co-op campaign. I don't recommend it for the adversarial multiplayer. I don't even think there's certain friendly fire doesn't even seem to work, which is weird in that kind of a game, but there's that. Yes to DayZ Standalone and Arma 3. I will be taking a look at both of those when I can. Just stay tuned for more. And because, I look at bringing more in-depth conversation and psychological analysis when we look at DayZ and things like that, because that's what I think made my videos stand apart from the rest. So there's that. Still playing World of Tanks, of course. Off and on. Sometimes I have to take a little bit of a break from a certain game just to keep it fresh. War Thunder, I probably don't play as much as World of Tanks, but still a good game. Look forward to its future to see what they're up to. And then I think finally some MMOs. I don't know. I really haven't been into an MMO in a while. I am looking forward to the Elder Scrolls Online. We'll see about it. I don't know. Hopefully they manage to create something that captures me. Neverwinter looks kind of like crap. I was hoping that they would do better because I really enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, the world of D&D, and Forgotten Realms, but I don't like the way I think aesthetically it's not that pleasing, and the animations aren't really that great, and I haven't seen any major large open world environments, so there's that. And there's actually that new Final Fantasy, A Realm Reborn. I don't know, I played the original Final Fantasy MMO, and it was terrible, but it was mostly designed for consoles. And I just didn't like it at all. But this looks, it looks graphically interesting, but visually interesting. I just don't know how the gameplay is going to be. It just might be another knockoff of something else. We'll have to see about that. But maybe it's good. Maybe we'll try to get into beta. If I can get into any of these for beta testing and there's no NDA and I'm allowed to release content. As most of you know, I primarily focused on shooting things in games, so I did do some Star Wars The Old Republic footage. If you're interested in seeing that, it was a while ago, but really haven't done too much in the way of MMOs. And it's funny because playing an MMO or an RPG or something that's not a shooter is so much more relaxing when it comes to doing commentary, because you don't have to worry about getting shot at all the time. You can stay alive longer and chit-chat and talk more and focus on what you're saying, whereas in a shooter, a lot of people on YouTube don't do live commentary because it's difficult. You can't focus. You can't talk and chew bubblegum at the same time. That's that old saying. It's the same thing in these games. A lot of people won't do it because it's hard. You got to pay attention to your mini-map. You got to pay attention to the objectives, and you're getting shot at, and you're trying to talk and have an intelligent conversation with the audience or put forth, that effort, and it's just very difficult. Whereas in an MMO or some sort of slow-paced, hack and slash game, you're not getting shot at. You're not in danger of dying every couple of minutes or seconds even. So it would be nice if I could find a game that is a little bit more relaxing like that. XCOM is kind of there, but that game has its issues as well. And actually, I thought I was going to finish up with MMOs, but I'm going to finish up with XCOM here. One final announcement with that. I love XCOM. It's a great game, but it's really buggy and unbalanced and needs some repair. It needs some new content. It just needs some balancing as well. The single-player campaign kind of has gotten kind of terrible. The whole time limit thing, the whole thing where the country's leaving because you're not giving them enough support, it's just it gets really repetitive. The levels get repetitive as well. The things get more difficult with time, but I almost wish I could just have a free play mode, like just a skirmish mode, where I could choose my troops and set up a hard AI and fight against it in a level or random level of chosen. Well, if it's random, it's not chosen by me, but perhaps a level chosen by me. Something like that. And the multiplayer could use more too. They need to balance out aliens versus the Marines or the troops. They need to balance out just the different things there. There should be some sort of cooperative mode where perhaps you can have 2 fire teams versus 2 fire teams. So 2 friends, like let's say Rurikhan and me got together. He had his squad, I had my squad, and we could fight against 2 other people. Just because, and you might be thinking, well, what's the point? Because you're controlling everything. Well, the point is just because it's fun. Just because it's fun to play with your friends, and that's it. It's fun. It would be fun to have an adversarial situation where I could, ally with a friend of mine and take on 2 strangers or 2 other friends. And why not? Because, why? Because you can, and that's it. Because it's not hard to do, because they could do it. I mean, that would be fun. There should be so much for that. There should be spectator modes, for strangers. There should be different... I mean... They half-assed a lot of the content in XCOM. They released it, and so far, other than one little tiny DLC that I heard really wasn't worth it, they haven't really done a whole lot with it, and that's disappointing. So hopefully there's going to be more from them in the future, because it's a really great game, and I do enjoy it. I just wish that the multiplayer and single player had more to it. As far as me versus Rurikhan continuing, the first game was fun, but we played a second game after that just frustrated both of us. He ended up just destroying my guys with he killed 3 of my guys with this one move from, I forgot which alien it was, but it was just the distance that he shot it from, the fact that it was able to go through everything. There was just some BS stuff in that game, and there was BS stuff that I was doing against his troops, and vice versa. So it was like I'm shooting through walls, and he's managing to mind control my guys all the way across the map through heavy cover. I mean, just stuff that just seems stupid. Even when I've got, and when you spend points on abilities and equipment like anti-mind control devices and things there's so much rubbish in that game that just needs to get repaired and looked at. So for the time being, I really wouldn't expect too much more of that until maybe there's some sort of balancing. I know we're not experts, and perhaps we've just picked the wrong troops and things like that, but whatever, that's that. So anyways, I knew that this was going to be a long strafing run. I had a lot that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully you've listened to all of it and that perhaps you've enjoyed it. I think, I just have to say again, I really appreciate everybody's time, everybody subscribing, and it means a lot. So make sure to check me out on Facebook.com/SideStrafe, Twitter.com/SideStrafe. Links are always in the descriptions below. It's a good way to keep in touch. I announce a lot of things. Like I told everybody about the Blood Bowl situation through Facebook, and usually find out a lot about that stuff through Twitter as well. Take your pick. Either way is good. But it really helps me out because I can put up polls and ask questions on Facebook and say, hey, what do you think about this? And people can answer. And it's just a little bit more helpful. And who doesn't? I know a lot of people are against social media, but it works. It helps when you kind of, whether you have a business or do something like this. So I would appreciate if you head on over and check those out. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me once again. I will see you on the next one.